to break this all down, Hofstra University professor of law James Sample. He's also a former attorney at the Brennan Center for Justice Democracy Program. So, James, let's just go back a bit, since you are a constitutional law expert, and break down what Steve Bannon is proposing. How concerned should Americans who like the 22nd Amendment, it says presidents can only have 2 4-year terms, be about those comments?
The 22nd Amendment groupies. It's a small, it's a mixed group.
I would hope all Americans are 22nd Amendment groupies.
So I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect that what he's talking about, because the 22nd Amendment is crystal clear that you cannot be elected president for a third occasion. The last sentence of the 12th Amendment is also crystal clear. The last sentence of the 12th Amendment says that no person who is ineligible to be president can be elected to the office of vice president. So that's not the plan. But to be Speaker of the House, which is third in line, and it is the position that takes over if both the presidency and the vice presidency are vacant, to be Speaker of the House, you do not need to be a member of the House of Representatives. Now, every Speaker of the House of Representatives, historically, for every single one, has been a member of the House, but it's actually not a requirement. So it's very easy to imagine a circumvention scenario where you get 2 loyalists to run as a ticket and get presidency and vice presidency, and then resign and install the Speaker of the House. All of which, to me, highlights the fact that the Constitution is only so good. It's only as good as the norms and the people who are the citizenry to enforce it. Because I agree with the point you made in the last segment. Depending on the Supreme Court, especially with respect to questions like that, that's fool's gold.
Do you agree with some of the politicians, local community activists in places like Chicago and Portland who have started to say that they think the deployment of troops, the presence of sort of these militarized federal agents everywhere, that in their view, it may in some cases actually be less about immigration policy and be more of sort of a military exercise for activity we may see around elections in the future? Are you worried about that possibility?
I'm worried about that possibility. I don't know that it's actually, that I think it's more about that than it is about the actual militarization. I think that there's, one of the real concerns here is that I think that with respect to the National Guard, with respect to the possibility of the Insurrection Act, the scariest part, beyond the officials themselves being, deployed on the streets of America and, taking people out of the second-story windows of their homes and all of that, the scary part is the position that the administration is taking before the courts. And that position is the imperial presidency. It is the monarchy. The position they're taking before the courts with respect to, for example, the state of the facts, not the state of the law, the state of the facts on the ground, is that the administration's view is beyond the scope of judicial review, period, full stop.
Right.
If you've got the military in place and you can argue that the facts on the ground are contrary to what regular people, including federal judges, can see with their own eyes, you've got a lot of power, and you're basically saying that that power is completely unchecked. That's the scary part.
Okay, so can you give us a little bit of hope here?
It's not really good.
What recourse do Americans have then, regular Americans, people who might be watching this show, who are concerned about our judicial system enabling Trump, who are concerned about our legislative branch enabling Trump? What recourse do they actually have?
Well, Ben Franklin, when he's leaving the founding, supposedly says, is asked the question, what have we wrought? And he says, a republic if you can keep it. Which is to say that the norms don't enforce themselves, the Constitution doesn't enforce itself. You saw last week, Antonio, you were out on the street for the No Kings protest. You saw people rising up. There are people in this country who are very, very concerned. And I think at the local level, at the national level, and everywhere in between, it is important to speak up. It is important to recognize that the rule of law depends on the people. The rule of law is an abstract concept, and it's easy to lose it. If the horse gets out of the barn, the genie's out of the bottle, pick your metaphor. It's going to be very, very difficult to recreate the norms that we hold dear.
All right, so when you're watching this play out, and let's try to kind of come back to the issue of retribution, because he's trying to go after his political enemies, right? You've got Steve Bannon and those folks working in the shadows in the background trying to plan maybe a third term. You've got the courts being stress tested and being pushed in so many different directions. The people are out there protesting, and he is now going after the people that could potentially try to lead any kind of front against him, political front. That includes people like James Comey, that includes people in Congress like Adam Schiff, Letitia James. People tried to hold him accountable, and now potentially going after like former CI director James Brennan and others. How do you see this retribution tour playing out, and why it's so important, not just for these particular individuals, but for the greater democracy?
That's such a well-framed question, because it's not just about those individuals. It's about the chilling effect, right? It's about the big chill. It's not about going after Letitia James or James Comey or John Brennan or John Bolton or potentially Adam Schiff or Jack Smith, right? It's about all of those people, but it's also about firing Eric Siebert. It's also about forcing Danielle Sassoon to resign in the face of, standing up for what she thought was right. We've seen that over and over again. And the flip side of that is 8 days ago, George Santos gets his sentence commuted, right? The flip side of that is the Binance CEO, CZ, right? The flip side is this sort of pay-for-play access where loyalty is the coin of the realm, not principle. We are, and that is a dangerous place. That's not a right versus left thing. That's an integrity versus purchased influence thing. That's bribery enters its golden age.
Really quickly, Trump said that he wants the Department of Justice to reimburse him around $230 million for all of his legal costs. Of course, he's appointed the head of the agency that would be reimbursing him. Should Pam Bondi have to recuse from that? And if she doesn't, what are the legal avenues for making sure that any kind of payment doesn't flow to Donald Trump without proper legal checks?
Elise, this is crazy. I mean, that's not a legal term of art. It's crazy. Start with the emoluments clause. That's number one, right? That says that the president can't use the office to enrich himself beyond his salary. That's number one. Sovereign immunity. That's number two. The Federal Tort Claims Act, which is where he's pressing these claims. There are avenues for that to waive sovereign immunity. The government can waive sovereign immunity in certain contexts. Prosecutorial discretion decisions, which is what this is, those are not that's not a waivable offense under the Federal Tort Claims Act, even if the claims had merit, which they don't, right? His reputation was so damaged that he got elected president of the United States again, right? The claims lack merit, and then on top of it, you layer the fact that the individuals who would be making the decisions are his subordinates. And not only are they his subordinates, they're subordinates who in many instances were involved in the predicate investigations themselves. It's crazy, it's lawless, and it's stealing from the American people at the same time that people can't get their SNAP benefits.
And it is so Donald Trump as well.
That's right.
James Sample, thank you so much for entertaining our big questions with some not very satisfying answers, unfortunately.
Hopeful, we should say. They're very satisfying.
We're trying, yes. Up next, Trump slams the brakes on trade talks with Canada. Wait till you